What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the show. So for today, it's gonna be a little bit tasty. This is gonna be a tea spilling session. Okay, so unlike tea that is more commonly used, I'm talking about gossip. Okay, so unlike the typical gossip that you will all probably are used to. Let's turn down my volume on this. Yeah, so usually gossip is based on hearsay. So this will be a bit more on the factual side. So all of this is not really gossip. It's just saying it as it is. But yeah, who doesn't love some tea? All of this is gonna be related to coaching. So if you are interested in coaching, these are actually some good things to know that probably you will not know unless you talk to someone with a good amount of experience, and to also let you know or get the sense of what coaching in Singapore is really like. Wait, my camera is not straight. Huh, now it's straight. Is it straight? I think it's straight. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so for those who want to know about coaching, or for even like those who are in the realm or in the vicinity to coaches and all that, I think it's also quite interesting to know. You know, if you didn't know, now you're gonna know. Title of my previous podcast, which is actually pretty interesting. If you have not checked it out, please go ahead. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So number one, okay, I'll try to keep this episode short as well. I think the shortness is, easier for me to record, easier for you to listen. So let's hope this does not take too long. But in any case, if it does, it's some good content because tea. Okay, so the first one, first tea to spill is that honestly, schools value results over almost everything else. Yes. Okay, so no matter how many great attributes your coach may have, right, for those who are students or for those who are going to become coaches, no matter how many great attributes you have, the bottom line is that a majority of schools will use results as the biggest factor in whether they're going to retain you or not. Okay, and okay, I know it may sound like I am saying it's a bad thing. I think that results are definitely important because it does show that the money the school is spending on the coach is returning some sort of value. Okay, but so this is why I phrased it as such in the start. The way I see results personally, okay, everyone has different opinions. I think that's okay, and that is part of having a diverse and open discussion kind of environment. Okay, but the way I see results is more than just what accomplishments are attained, while the schools probably only see it as the accomplishments attained. So to expand more on this is the usual accomplishments to attain is like SYF, you got your distinctions, and below that is, I think, accomplishment, then commendation, or maybe it's the other way around. Then you got like what placings do you get in whichever competitions, and then whether you're like invited to certain more big performances like maybe Esplanade or other stuff, right? So those are like the more tangible things that you can, in a way, let's say, list down, on your school website, and we're like, okay, the club has attained this, compared to if, let's say, for what I think accomplishments are, is or results are, is the team progressing, right? So from day one of the year, this is where their standard was at, and to maybe, the end of the year, right, the standard has gone from here to here, right? Those are intangible things that the school can't put on their resume. So it's kind of like it does not exist, right? So other than that, it's more than just dance skills, right? So personally for me, I'm very into student development and in terms of character development and all that, right? The way that they think, the way they are able to problem solve, etc. Right? All those are intangible things that I really feel that the school does not consider as much. So no matter how many great attributes that you may have as a coach, or how many ever many great attributes your coach has, yeah, ultimately the school really just sees what accomplishments you attain. So every school differs from my experience, and it all depends on how the school leaders and their priorities work, right? So and also on top of that is also is how much each party has a say in like the review of how everything has gone. So usually there are three parties involved. Of course, there's the coach, there's the teachers in charge, and there's the school leaders. So school leaders are like your HODs, like your principal, vice principal, or however many the school wants to get involved in that, right? And in that order, coach, teachers, and then school leaders, it represents a decreasing amount of knowledge of what actually is going on in the CCA. Obviously, the coach will have the most knowledge because they are interacting with the students for the whole session, for every session. Then the teachers will have like usually the middle, right? Because they are there to observe, so they definitely know what's going on, but they are not the ones that are coaching, actively coaching and interacting with the team 24/7, not 24/7, like throughout the whole session, right? Like how much knowledge you can gain through observing versus interacting is really different, right? And then the last who has the most little knowledge as possible is the HOD or the principal, because they only pop in like once in a while or sometimes even never, right? And then maybe they only get like reports from the teachers, which again, there's not much not much experience that you can convey through verbal means, right? You just understand, but you don't feel what it was like in that situation, right? That feeling of accomplishment, of progression, right? Like you finally see that, hey, this team suddenly is getting their act together, right? Or everyone suddenly is more mature, right? You can only say, oh yeah, they were more mature, but you don't feel it when it's told to you, right? And yeah, so essentially the person who has the least knowledge about the CCA and the most say about, whether they want to recontract this coach or this company and whatever, has the most say in that matter, right? And yeah, of course, if it's the HOD has to answer to the principal, and then the principal, depending on their priorities, whether it is this or that, will make the determining factor, right? So if the principal is all about tangible results, then yeah, it's a very clear cut direction of which way the decision is gonna probably go. So why I have a slight issue with this, like personally, okay, is because, school leaders usually have the minimal knowledge, like I said, about whatever goes on in CCA, the progress made, the challenges that the team is facing, and this particular group, right? Every year is a different dynamic, a different team dynamic. So every challenge and setbacks faced is very specific to that particular team dynamic, right? The students themselves, like how are they like? How do they work together? Is this batch a little bit more inexperienced than previous batches, etc.? Right? So coaches and teachers usually do talk about all of these with the HODs, if they do make it a point to consult and discuss it with us coaches and the teachers. But like I said, there's not much that you really can let them experience and feel through reporting, right? You can try your best, but yeah, there's not much. So how I think schools should assess who they contract for services, okay, this is my opinion and my thought is very honestly through the opinions of not any of the three parties above, not the coach, not the students, not the school leaders, but the opinions of the students themselves. Because is CCA not for the students? Is it not for their enjoyment and their, yes, of course, to excel, you want to be great at it and perform at a high level, but should the kids not have a say in who is the one that is coaching them, right? Like, as far as I know, I really don't know or don't think that the students are even asked about, like, oh, who do you want as your coach? Do you want this particular coach to remain your coach, or do you want to change a coach, try something new? Like, in my years, maybe I've only heard that question asked like once or twice out of my 7 years of coaching. Yeah, I don't know if they do it like when we are not there, but yeah, I really have no idea, right? So should the students not have a big say in who coaches them, right? So I'm not saying that all the other three parties, school leaders, teachers, should not have a say. They should, obviously, because they are the adults, but it should be in more of an assessing role, like to assess whether the progress is really being made, like beyond tangible results. Like, are the students improving? Is the club getting stronger? Or again, not intangible results, but in terms of maybe the culture, right? Are the students, becoming better people, right? Are they actually better, let's say for us dancers, are they better dancers from when they started? If there is progress, then there is progress, right? If there is no progress, then obviously something is wrong. For me, I would be like, something is wrong. We need to probably change coach, or maybe reassess the coach, or like have a conversation with the coach, to understand, right? But it should be catering to the students' comfort and preference and what is good for them. Yep, I think that is the right way to phrase it. And where it goes wrong is when the school thinks that they know what the students need, when in fact only the students will know what they really need and just need the school to help them facilitate it. Yes. Right? So if there is no cause, to not follow the preference of the students, right, then you should also be mediated with them. Because usually what happens when there is a change in coach and instructor is the students are clueless and assume that they were abandoned or whatever other reason but the real one, right? So like suddenly new year, oh, new coach come in, hey, what happened to the previous coach? Is it that coach don't want to coach us anymore because we're not good, or because they abandoned us, or whatever it is? And then it's just like glossed over with like, oh yeah, just welcome the new coach, this is going to be the coach for you. And then they don't even address the real reason of why they had to switch coaches, right? And from my analysis, or like thinking through it now, is like maybe they are just not ashamed, that they are ashamed of how it actually turned out, because I don't know, either they didn't like the coach or whatever it is, right? But the truth is the truth, right? You have to, if you value honesty, then you should practice honesty, is it not? Anyway, so results are important, obviously. Like I said, keep repeating myself, results are important. I'm not saying that it is not. What I am trying to explain, okay, if you are maybe a student, again, is that if you like your coach and you learn a lot of things from your coach, you have fun in CCA, all of that does not matter whether your coach continues becoming your coach, because schools value results over almost anything. So unless this changes, if you want your coach to remain your coach, you all need to understand why coaches push y'all so hard to achieve, because they want to keep coaching you. Because if y'all don't achieve, the school is going to swap us out, because we are not worth their money. Plain and simple. These are facts. Okay. Some variations here and there. Not all schools are like this. Okay, but come on, which school is not result driven? Which school is not result driven? Okay, next one. Coaching is business. If you didn't know, now you know. Coaching is business. Spill the tea on that. So if results are valued almost over almost anything else, so what is valued even more? So understand that all schools, all of us vendors and contracted people, like whichever CCA it is, sports, performing arts, uniform groups and whatever, we are just part of business, right? And just like any other business, you want to spend the least and get the most in return. Everyone agrees on that, right? So like you are going to go buy something, you want to pay the least amount to get what you want, right? Even more if it's a service, you want to pay the least amount to get as much service as you can, right? I think that is a common business mindset, right? So to understand this better, right, if you want to understand how CCAs work, every CCA is budgeted a certain amount by the principal, and each CCA is allocated a different amount based on the principal's discretion. So there is no set like, I don't think there's a set rule by MOE like this percentage is to sports, this percentage is to performing arts, this percentage is to uniform group. So they get a lump sum and then they can allocate it based on how much they feel, the principal feels is enough for each CCA. So what happens is if the principal loves sports more than, other CCAs, then sports CCAs get a bigger percentage of the budget, right? Or maybe even specific sports like soccer or basketball or netball, especially if they come in and then maybe that CCA's particular CCA is like really good, so they'll prioritize that one, so they'll get more money, right? So usually, if I am correct and if I am not mistaken, might be wrong, performing arts clubs don't get much because Singapore has a very thriving art scene and career prospects. And usually the STEM clubs or niche sports club will get the most. Yeah. I think the only like performing arts CCA that gets a lot more is like band and Chinese orchestra, but understandably because they have expensive instruments and they need to maintain it and everything, right? But clubs like drama and dance, we get like, compared to other CCAs, like really little, because to them, what do we need? We just need a room and that's it. What else is there that we need? So so honestly, I think that even if that particular school's performing art club is or has a good track record, it is not going to be treated the same way as a niche sports club. Yeah. So I even think if like there's like a straight distinction record and then maybe they get into certain finals and maybe even place, I don't think the budget will exponentially increase because of that. So yeah, it's really just business, right? The next thing to understand is that coaching for coaches is our income, and wouldn't everybody want to have an income increment as the years go by, right? When you go and work for some place, you would want to know that after a certain amount of years, you can get a pay raise, right? You can get more money for your value and your experience that you have sacrificed your time for and put in the work to improve in, right? So of course, yes, you have to make sure you get good results and you provide good service. So if a coach has done a good job, gotten a good results for the school, after maybe 3 to 4 years, is it not natural to then request for an increment? Yeah. Think about it. Okay. And then one more thing to understand is that how coaches are contracted to coach schools is through bidding. So if you don't know what bidding is, basically it is anyone can, submit a price, and then it is up to whoever it is that is auctioning off their product or whatever to accept whoever bid that comes in, right? So usually it is every 1 or 2 years, depending on the contract with the school. And every time the contract ends, the company, the coach or company has to rebid for the school publicly. So as coaches or under companies, we can bid for whichever school that we feel like, whatever is available on the bidding platform. So all the schools will be there. You can just submit your bid for every single school, right? And you can do it through a company, or you can do it as an individual. Yeah. So this means that other coaches and companies can also bid for the school's contract. Even though you have a relationship with them, other schools can bid. Even if you've been coaching there for 10 years, other companies can still bid for that school if it's up for a renewal. So as a business model, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not shitting on that, whatever it is, right? But in case you didn't know, that's how it works, So yeah, I think it's a fair business model, right? So what does this all mean? There will always be competitors undercutting prices, and that's where schools will just see the business side of things. Why pay more to retain this particular coach when they can switch to another cheaper coach who promises the same results? For example, if the current coach or company quotes X amount of dollars, right, and then another coach or company can quote 3/4 of X, or maybe even half X, to provide the same service. If you are the school leader, only considering business and value and not factoring in things, like I said above, the opinions of students, things beyond attainable results, the things that have gone on in the club, would you not be like, hey, that's a cheaper price for the same promised results or even better results? Why you not go for that particular cheaper option? Right, and even more so if the current coach or company is asking for a slight increment, because again, like I said, after a few years, wouldn't you want to have a raise? The coach will naturally want a little bit of a pay increase for their loyalty and their amount of time they have put in. So again, student, if you like your current coach, you learn a lot from your coach, you have fun with your coach, and even if you get the results with your coach, all that may not matter, because to the school, it's just business. Yes. So, yeah. There's no way around it. I mean, maybe the only way is if you're let the school know, we want to keep this particular coach. Do not change the coach. You make a big deal out of it. I don't know, but it is what it is. Yeah. Then, next one, number 3. Okay, is if you didn't know, right, spilling the tea on coaching. Not everyone can coach, and I'm not saying that capable or not capable. I'll get into it later, but it's not about capabilities. But not everyone can coach, and it's only getting harder. What do I mean by this? Is right now, the amount of prerequisites a dance coach needs to actually even start being eligible to coach is not a short list. And they all require money to get. So what a coach needs to even qualify to teach in schools is firstly a first aid CPR AED certification, which will cost you around $200 if I'm not wrong, and it needs to be renewed every 2 years for about the same price. So it's a continual thing, right? Then next you will have to go through a safe dance practice course, which costs you another $200+. So that's already like $400+. The only free one is an MOE certificate, right? So you can go and register online as a CCA coach or enrichment coach on MOE site. So that one's free. Yay. Yeah. So these 3 things is your entry level coach. Yeah. So you need these 3 things. So you got to pay for them. Unless you're with a company, if you're a freelance, you have to pay for it yourself. Yep. So that's entry level, okay? Just to be able to, start taking on certain projects, but not all. So now if a coach wants to get more projects and maybe qualify for a higher pay rate, maybe, not even guaranteed, they will need proper certification of training, which is fair, You have to be competent in what you're doing. So even for street dance, okay, which I must say the courses they need us to go through is really questionable to the authenticity of street dance. If you know, you know. It really does not matter if you have won competitions or learned from actual street dance legends or have however much experience. What matters is the certification to the schools. And of course, getting all those certificates costs money. So things like your CSTD, ATOD, you know, all those different like more renowned and established dance dance associations and stuff, right? Which for street dance, yeah, I'll leave it as that. Nothing wrong with like whatever these associations are doing. I think it's great, you know, making it more accessible for everybody. But you can't beat learning from a legend of street dance and then not being recognized that you have competency, or even like you've won like, let's say, 5 competitions and then you're still not recognized as a competent instructor and you cannot get projects because you are not qualified to get them. Yeah, so I mean, it's somewhat understandable because, you know, I think having qualifications are essential in ensuring that quality people are coaching, right? Yeah, my point is just there's a little bit of, you know, oversight. I won't say oversight, maybe not as much progress in the street dance qualifications. And yeah, the point being that for those who assume becoming a coach is straightforward or easy, it really is not. There's a lot of things, and you have to. It's a course like not over one day kind of thing. It's over few days, maybe even few weeks, right? There's even one like some pedagogy course. You gotta take it over weeks. You got lectures to do and assignments to do, right? And it requires so much money. There's only so much skills future you can use, and if you're not even eligible for skills future, which I was not at the time, you have to pay for yourself with your own money out of part-time jobs. That's really crazy. And I'm very sure that in time to come, more and more qualifications will come up, and it's gonna cost more and more money. And yeah, that just means it's only gonna get harder and harder to become a coach. That's just the truth. Spill the tea. This is the tea. It's a very hot cup of tea. Can you handle the tea? And the last one, this is the real juice. The real straight concentrated tea, unfiltered. Okay, maybe a bit filtered. But yeah, this is the real tea. So this is the real hidden world about coaching. And why I've written this out and why I wanted this is actually the main point of the whole episode. I just put the first 3 up, you know, just like a ease into it, and then maybe those who are not interested will have left by now, which leaves the real ones who are interested to know the real tea. So this is the real hidden world. Again, like I said, the main point I wrote this is because this is something that I have faced myself and is really making me question whether I still want to be a coach. I want to be, okay, not be a coach, but I still want to be a part of this coaching industry, because it's really just yeah, you'll hear about it. So let's go. The amount of backstabbing, conniving, and unethical people in the industry is getting more and more off-putting, and why I actually would dissuade people from getting into the coaching industry is because of all this. So it really makes you realize the amount of humanity in the industry that is supposed to teach the younger generation about humanity is shockingly low. There definitely is a business aspect of wanting to earn more, control more, and own more. That's fair and natural to have in a business perspective. But what is happening more and more is ignorance of contractual obligations and boundaries. It is one thing to want to take over something, then go through the proper means and procedures to do so. It is another thing to go about it in a way that is written in a signed contract that you are not allowed to do. Well, what do I mean is the people you have outsourced your projects to plotting to snatch that project away from you and doing so in a way that is explicitly mentioned in the contract they have signed is not allowed just because they want full ownership of it. In the first place, they would not have gotten the project. And secondly, it's basically unethical and immoral, right? Whether or not both parties, the school and the outsourced coach, right? Not even outsourced, like freelance, you're under the company, is in agreement. Does the contract then mean nothing? Like, both parties agree to like, okay, let's do this together, right? Like, okay, understandable, right? But then does the contract mean nothing? The contract that you signed. And why is that important? Because that is your word. That is what you represent because you signed it, right? So does your word then mean nothing, right? If you talk about business, okay, so let's talk about business perspective, right? I believe the formal term of this is acquisition, right? You want to acquire a certain intellectual property or whatever thing that this company has, you buy it out, right? Like you offer them like, okay, I want to own this. Okay, I want to buy that. How much? I'm going to offer you this amount of money to buy that out. That's business, right? We're talking about business. That's business, right? So yeah, you would not believe how many schools or coaches have done this. I'm not going to name names or schools, but maybe you'll be shocked if you find out the truth of who. I honestly would not have an issue if they publicly said that this is what they did. At least there is some authenticity in them. But the fact that nobody knows is such a telltale sign that even they know it is not proper. Because if they had nothing to hide, why not say that this is what they did and be honest about it? And it's not a matter of, okay, why should I have to say this to everybody and blah, 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 blah. The fact is that you are trying to hide it. Yeah. Like, you wouldn't need, like, to plan and, like, do things on down low and all that if there was nothing improper about it. So they don't care about the students as much as they care for themselves, because if they did, they would have asked themselves, what will my students think of me if they knew I did it this way? Does the end really justify the means? So they do it and continue to be all high and mighty, preaching about good values and morals to their students. They may seem to know it, good morals, values, they may seem to know it, but are they practicing it? So why does this matter? Because the real question is, if they are capable of putting their self-interest above ethics and morals, are they fit for shaping, developing, and impressionable students? Where is the line between ethical competitiveness and unethical competitiveness? Where is the boundaries between having objective interpretation of morals and subjective self-interest interpretations of morals? They may be amazing dancers and choreographers and movers, no doubt. I will give them that. But as coaches, I don't think so. I definitely am not perfect too. But breaking contracts for my personal self-interest and gain has never even crossed my mind, because I was brought up to follow rules. And if I want something, you have to follow the rules. If not, find a way that does not go against the rules that you have agreed to. The main point is that you have agreed to. Right? So if let's say the rule is there and like, okay, I don't agree to it, I never signed anything, like it was an implied rule, then okay, gray area. But you have pen and paper signed it and agreed to it, and like, I can't even understand how that thought is possible of like, yeah. So if you knew who you looked up to went through unethical means to get something, going against their signed and agreed on contract and in the process essentially stole it, would you still look up to that person? If yes, then no wonder they are your role model. Birds of a feather flock together, which can also be said about the groups of people who practice this unethical behavior. That's why they're all together. Is who you look up to really who they seem to be? Are they still your coach through means of immoral and unethical practices? Why should it matter? Because that's who you look up to, and they are supposed to be better than you. So, if you don't understand what's happening, then yeah, this is the hidden world. It's because it's like, what? But again, these are not speculations or like hearsay, he say, she say, or whatever it is, but it is the truth of what is the truth and its facts. Okay, this is all had been done before, and it essentially is how I lost, some of my schools, and how some of my colleagues also lost some of their schools. And again, there's nothing wrong with business, right? If it was done in a ethical and proper way, like no toes were stepped on, and nothing in signed contracts and everything was gone against, then by all means, it's free, it's fair. But it becomes underhanded, and I really just cannot find another better word than unethical and immoral to do what has been done, right? And it was people that I respected once and really understood that, yeah, people really are who they are in front of you, but whoever they are in front of you is not whoever they really are, because who they really are is who they are when no one is watching. And it is usually when no one is watching that they are plotting and scheming all these little things. And again, why this matters to me so much, I mean, as much as, yes, it affects people who are, around me and everything, but I'm really just thinking more for the students, like those are the people that I would not want coaching my kids next time. Like if I have kids, I would not want those people to be coaching my kids, because I cannot trust that they will always give them the right guidance if they are capable of doing something like this, right? And if they have succeeded in making my kids think that this is okay, then it's a little bit too late, right? So if already some of the students are like, oh, I mean, that's okay, what? That's totally fair, then they have succeeded in not teaching the right morals and ethics to the future generation, and those are the ones that are going to be shaping the future generations, right? So it's bigger than just like, oh, feelings got hurt and whatever it is, but again, it's more of the future of the scene, future of the industry, right? If they think it's okay to do this now, it's gonna be even more rampant in the future, right? Because that's just the normal practice, right? Isn't it? Let's just do it. So yeah, I mean, I would like to say it is what it is, but there are some things like this which is really hard to say that it is what it is, because it can't be what it is. It really is not what it is. Yeah, it's just not right. And yeah, I will just leave it as that. So, just try to think which school. I will not say here. Not for me to say. But yeah, if you are wondering, just wonder and think. If you're smart enough, I think you will be able to figure it out. Yeah. But in any case, these are the tea that this is the tea. These are the teas. These are, because there are four. So these are the teas. These are the little cup of teas that we have spilled. Yeah, not really gossip, but it is facts. Okay, there's a difference between I don't like to gossip, so I don't like to say or spread things that are not true or do not have a sense of proof, like first person knowing it proof, right? So if it's someone that has said it to me, I'll be like, okay. But these are things that I have personally experienced and would like to share so that people know more. Okay, it's getting long. It's 40 minutes already. So promise I'll keep it short. So that is it for this episode. And yeah, see you next time. Peace.